cheer for your Sydney Swans.
Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods, a fan podcast of the Sydney Swans Football Club.
So to all you loyal Swans out there, you just can't get enough of the red and the white.
Fluff up your tail feathers and settle in for a potentially biased yarn about all things to do with our beloved Bloods.
G'day there, Cygnets and Swanlings. Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods. You're joined as always by the crew from Sydney. I'm Harps. I've got Noddy and Superfan Sam along for the ride.
That's right, you lamenting loyal Swans fans. Today we're going to talk about our loss to the Bulldogs and look ahead to the game at home on Sunday against a red-hot Freo. And remember, if you enjoy what you hear, give us a like and follow. Okay, let's kick things off with a quick game recap.
Yep, Friday night, very low crowd, fewer than 30,000 people at the SCG. It was a cold night, to be fair. Swans, very, very proud performance, but with still some errors and plenty to get through. We lost to the Bulldogs by 9 points in the end. 14 goals, 12, 96 to 16 goals, 9. 105 the Bulldogs, and the straight kicking was probably what cost us in the end. Sammy, I'll start with you because Noddy's got a bit of a story to tell us about how he watched the game. So, Sammy, you as always, mate. What did you think?
Yeah, it's probably our best performance of the year, but still not good enough.
And what are your 3 words, mate?
Disappointed.
Okay. Would you like to elaborate, or should we hear Noddy's tale? Because it is a pretty funny one, to be fair.
We'll go with Noddy.
Oh, Sam, I hope you're okay, Sammy. Yeah, my 3 words are gutsy but wayward. Just for obvious reasons, our set shots again let us down. But yeah, as Sammy said, I think it was one of our best games of the year, and yeah, it's just crushing because you really could have won that one. But so my story is I was flying home from interstate, I had a bit of work on, and somehow double booked myself, which is just rookie error. But so I couldn't make it to the game, unfortunately. But obviously, with the modern marvels of flying in the 21st century, it's 21st, isn't it? Or is it 22nd? Anyway, it's pretty cool these days. You get Wi-Fi on a plane. So flicked it on, did all the things, listened to the ads. Yep, cool, good to go. Had a pretty fun tango with KO, just trying to remember my log-on details because it's always synced to my house. And once I was on, I had everything set up, had the pre-games probably about 10 or 15 minutes ago, watching it smoothly. Pretty much from first bounce, I was patchy in and out from first and second quarter, and third and fourth quarter was just a total write-off. So I'm coming in from half a game. I've watched the mini again, but yeah, look, I can't really complain. Some bloke actually lost consciousness on the flight. So yeah, I don't know. I think one of you blokes said might have been a Dogs fan, but I wouldn't have known because I didn't know what was going on in the third. As it turns out, it was a banger of a quarter where both teams kicked 6 goals, 1. And to be honest, it was an even second half, right? Both teams kicked 6-1 in the third, and then both teams kicked 2-3 in the fourth. So damage done in the first half again, and damage was mostly done by us.
Very, very good game. 2 very good teams. I reflected as I was watching it. And Noddy, maybe that's for the best. I can imagine if the game was streaming live, you'd have had 5 to 7 steward or stewardess lights going up around you.
There was one moment where I think it was one of Heaney's goals, where I was like, yes, go on. And I think the lady next to me did notice, and she sort of looked at me, and and so there's a gap in the middle at least, but I was like, oh, I better rein it in because this could get out of hand. But yeah, as it was, technology got the better of me again.
Well, yeah, you missed a bit of a heartbreaker. My 3, I was going to go Disney on Ice. More about that in a minute. But I ended up on a real shame. I thought we played very well. I thought they were a good side. I had kind of flashbacks to the Hawks and the Lions games right at the start of the year where I thought it's a really good team and we're just there, just couldn't do enough to get over the line. And look, the kicking cost us. I mean, Noddy, I know you've been through every behind as part of your podcast prep, and you're gonna talk through some of those. But some of those misses, if we got two of those pretty easy set shots, we'd have won that game, and it'd be season on. And unfortunately, it's getting closer and closer to season off. So anyway, we'll talk about all that as we get into the podcast. Sammy, do you want to kick us off? What did you think of the game as a whole, mate?
Well, again, yeah, I do think that we played well. I think that it was, the execution that cost us. Just in general, I mean, goal kicking, obviously, but I think that the Dogs were smoother with the ball. They moved it better from end to end, whereas we sort of grunted our way through and we had better pressure. And, I think, that inside game was really strong, but they were silkier. And, yeah, that's, I think that's sort of where the game was won and lost.
Yeah. And Noddy, in your reviews, what did you think, mate? I know you were lamenting some of those shots that we should have scored.
Yeah, look, I mean, 4-10 from set shots, right? That's just it's not acceptable, really. And look, perhaps, and there were some worse shots than others, but I'm not going to name who I think is the ones that could have gotten it. But from those 10, I think at least 6 or 7 were gettable by today's standards. And if you're not taking those chances and putting scoreboard pressure on against a team like Bulldogs who are playing for Bont in his 250th, as you see, like really the difference in the game was the first half, and the difference really was our lack of conversion. Other than, I think, Sammy's very valid points that they overall looked a bit schmicker, right? But there were just some really gettable goals and by a fair few senior players as well, but a couple of junior and mid-level players. So look, I don't know. It's frustrating. It's frustrating, obviously, because we said this a lot last week. All Swans fans know it. It's pretty much we need to win every single game basically to give ourselves every chance to even make the 8. Yeah. So and I think a win like that, maybe we come back in the last minute, right? Would have just lifted the roof off a comparatively quiet SCG. But can you imagine if McLean got that shot and then with a minute to go, we somehow win the clearance and kick it? You know what I mean? Like it would have been like one for the ages, really.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
it shouldn't have come down to that. Really, you've got to put scoreboard pressure on, and we didn't. But the positives for me is that we did put some good footy together, and really we bounced back when they went on a run. When they would go, we'd get a couple back. And I remember it was last week or the week before. That's that's one of the things I called out. I really wanted us to be able to put a stop to opposition momentum, and I thought we did that pretty well. They had a couple of really standout performances though, and from younger players, that Fraser played very, very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bramble stood up. Like they're role players, they're juniors and role players. So I think there's a different team balance, a different
Bramble
dynamic.
was
But
very good.
sorry, Sammy.
Bramble was very good.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we don't like heaping praise on the Bulldogs for an obvious reason, but they are a very good side, right? I was struck several times by the talent they've got all across the park. There was one point, I think, third quarter, I was looking at the centre square, and you had you had Bonds, Liberatore, Richards, Jordan, Heaney, Chad. I was thinking it's like 6 to 8 of the best players in the game, right? So look, I mean, I think they're a team that's actually going to go pretty deep, but they struck me as a group that's tight, playing well, accurate, and a lot of players just hitting form. I think, right at the right time of the season too. So I don't think there's any shame in losing to them. But someone rang me today. A friend rang me today and said it's just disappointing, right? You should have beaten. He's not a Swans fan. He said you should have beaten Richmond by 100. You should have beaten Port by 50, and you should have beaten the Bulldogs by a couple of goals, right? And each week, it's been not enough scoring. It's just the accuracy that's let us down again. So, and it's
Yeah.
too far now, right? It's going to be very hard to get it back. So,
Hmm.
yeah, boy,
Positive.
pretty disappointing night at the G, I must say.
Harps, positive for me is that we did score. We did okay. We broke through that band of 70 to 80, really the 70s. I mean, we're talking about it ad nauseum since the beginning of the season. We've had like 8 or 9 scores or whatever in that band. Just haven't been able to really kick past 11 goals, 11, 12. I think our average was 11 goals, 14 for most of the season. So at least we're in the positive, right? 14, 12. But it's that 12 that was just a killer, right? And look, going back to my point, if we get those gettable goals and nothing changes on the Bulldogs side, yeah, we do win by 2 goals, as you say, 14 points. So, and it would have been an epic game. I mean, it was a pretty good game anyway, if you're a neutral fan. I think like it really was probably a finals quality, other than the goal kicking, a finals quality game, or it had a feeling of that level. So, obviously it sucks being on the losing end, but yeah, I think it was gutsy. I think we can take a lot from it. And if this was like round 5 and we'd served that up, I think I'd be feeling pretty good about 2025. But where we are and what we need to do just to, have a look in is it's a bit depleting and disappointing, as Sammy said. But I think the players are going to be feeling it. But all you can do is turn up for next week, I think.
Well, I was Noddy, if I may. I was going to say actually, perfect opportunity to blame someone else.
Go on then.
Let's talk about the SCG pitch for a while, shall we? A little segment we've dubbed Disney on Ice. There was
I thought the segment was going to be blame someone else. Or who can we blame?
That's right, blame Canada. Well, it's Noddy, I know you've done the background, but there was a concert mid-April, and we've been saying it going along. It's been the Eastern in the ground, yeah, Paddington in the ground. It's been a nightmare for 3-4 months now.
Yeah. So Andrea Bocelli played Under the Stars to an adoring masses in Sydney. Had no idea. On the 3rd of April, which was a Thursday for those keeping score. Which was the weekend of between round 3 bye for us and the round 4 North game away at Marvel. We then played Collingwood at Adelaide Oval in round 5 for gather round. And so they had 2 weeks really to recover the ground. And we noticed it when we came back for round 6, which is against Port. And really it's sort of that third of the ground, you can see it's a totally different colour. And the players were slipping, and we were talking about this before we started recording. The players were slipping in every game since then. So Port round 6, GWS round 8, Carlton in round 10, Adelaide in 12, maybe less so for Adelaide. But definitely you were saying, Harps, for you, this was the slipperiest or the Disneyest that you've seen it so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if it's the colder ground, it's been a cold week, or the grass is just at the stage of dying in the season, right? So maybe noticed the grass cover was less. But I mean, dangerous, right? I mean, joking aside, like these players were, you routinely see the players changing the studs, right? They come out for the warm up. You can see them change their boots because they start slipping everywhere. But I mean, I didn't count, right? But there must have been 30, 40 slips across the game, right? It's not good.
I feel like there's a solid cricket pun in there somewhere, but it's one of those things where they're limited to how the length of the studs they can have, right? That's mandated, and I thought that they pretty much just had one size. Maybe they, on a really hot day, they wear like a jogger type thing. They don't need much traction, and so they can only go marginally longer when it is. It's not as if they can bring out the screw-in steel studs that we wore when we were playing rugby back in the day to get the ruck in, but. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe there should be circumstances, but then I think was it Darling the other day got his shin gashed open because of stud connection. So look, there's player welfare, and if you're talking in that regard, then yeah, the field was too slippery. But it's not the first time this has happened. It does appear it's getting worse, but yeah, the fact it's blown up now. I think the irony is, and Sammy, you might have a position on this, is that the AFL approves everything. yes, the SCG are the caretakers, and it really has nothing to do with the Swans who effectively lease the ground. But the AFL ticks it off. And so when they applied to put the concert on for the concert, to get the go ahead for that, they would have put forward a business case and a mitigation strategy and all that sort of stuff, and it would have been approved. And every week it would continue. Surely they're talking about this stuff. And anyway, the club's come out saying that the Freo game's going to be played at the SCG, and we're expecting a massive storm to roll through this week. So it might be even worse. I don't know, Sammy. Do you think there's any conspiracies going on here?
I just think it's a bit of a joke.
And that's all she wrote.
I just think it's not just not quality enough.
Do you think we should put a roof over the SCG? Just question without notice for our Tasmanian listeners. And that wasn't even sorry, that wasn't a dig at the Tassies. That was a sly dig at the AFL. Yeah, look, either way, yes, I agree. It probably was the slipperiest. But it still was a pretty good game, really.
Yeah.
It sort of added a bit of drama because, when are they going to slip?
What's frustrating about that though is that it was a good game, and I think that there's sort of two things that were a bit frustrating that put stops to that game. One was the Paddington end, because the game could not be played at the same intensity down there. Like, defenders had to move in weird ways so they didn't slip over, or were really conscious of it. That for three quarters of that field, the game was on, and then that was just this weird, tentative, sludge of danger where anything could happen. The other thing, I thought that game, both ways, was umpired horribly.
Blame someone else. Who else can we blame?
I don't, because I think we actually probably got the better end of the stick overall. We won the free kick count by 6.
Have they made up for the 2016?
No.
Not that we're taking a cumulative approach on this.
No, they've just got to make umpires full time. I don't know how it's still part time. But I just think those two factors sort of, and the fact we didn't win, so those 3 factors probably, stopped this game from being an epic.
Yeah, look, we can look around for excuses, right? But I mean, you mentioned 2016, and the Bulldogs kicked straight that day too, didn't they? They could just kick straighter. But
bad kicking, bad footy.
Bad kicking, bad foot. I've heard it dozens of times this week already. Yeah, but we did want to give Stinker of the Week to the SCG ground. It needs to be sorted out.
Well, I mean, maybe my hope would be that from this, it launches, it really progresses discussions about a proper upgrade of the stadium. And I know this is totally off topic, but for years we've been saying, you've got to update the O'Reilly, Brawongle, Churchill. Maybe while you're at it, you can have a look at the turf again. Maybe you can widen it or lengthen it somehow. But I think that you'd have to do extensive. You'd have to change the access points, Driver Avenue. I don't think you can do that. Make it a bit bigger and add about 20,000 would be great. But I guess we've got to keep winning, because there's that old fear that if we stop losing, we might lose some of the crowd. Not us, obviously, but some of those other fans. But anyway, yep. Put the longer studs in, boys.
Yeah, look, we can all hear that. We know Noddy, you and Sam well enough to hear disappointment. So, is there anything else you'd like to say about the game, or we can reflect on some really positive performances in the Bob Medal? There's some great performances out there. Maybe we flip it and talk about some of those Swans that really stood up for themselves.
Yep, for sure. I do rue the fact that we didn't make that meme about Bocelli and all the players slipping over, with time to say goodbye, slip. I think that would have been a good one. I feel like Type Media would have done that really well. Meme dump. Slipping at the SCG. Disney on Ice. But all good ideas that never saw the light of day until this awkward anecdotal recount. Good to march on forward, mate.
Let's get into the Bob medal then. It's our version of the Bob Skilton medal. We give out 3, 2, 1 for the best swan on the ground each game. And then we add them up at the end of the season and see who wins and if they'll come on the podcast and have a chat with us. Sammy, you're going to kick us off. Your favourite, Errol Goulden. Most disposals on ground. I noticed he had a good game.
My favourite. Interesting. Yeah, look, he started slowly, in a sense, but from the second quarter, he had 7 touches, 12 in the third. He was massive in the third quarter, and 8 in the last. So just really, amazing that he's only been back for 1 week and he's already getting the most touches on the ground. What a talent. 83% disposal efficiency. He's had, 540 meters gained, which was second best on ground, 5 clearances. He's just an absolute little superstar.
Looking at his heat map, he's heavily favoured one side of the ground, which is interesting because normally I'd see him all over the place. But
he did
how
dominate
good did he?
the O'Reilly side wing. I thought that was his wing.
Yeah, so for some reason I thought not these two, not this year, but like previously he's just sort of roamed and played all over. But yeah, it's good to see him again. He's really kicking well, and I think it's nice to have him back, isn't it?
Yeah, more to come.
I would say that Goulden is Sammy's favorite's favorite.
Yeah,
I get that right, Sammy?
What Chad's favorite is
Chad's
Goulden.
best mate is Errol, or you're one of, but
yeah, that would add up. I do love Errol as well.
Yeah, Errol's my favorite.
He also had 15 contested possessions as well and 7 tackles, which
that's pretty good.
Just massive. So he was awesome. Do
you know what I love though? Just Sam, do you remember that goal that Grundy got, which was huge, and we'll get to him, but. There was as I was going back to the centre bounce. There was Errol was right up in his grill. Do you remember? I think it was last year when they mic'd them up for a game, and it was all about them talking about stay connected, let's stay connected. It looked like there were elements of that, but I just thought it was nice to see.
Yeah, no, look, he was fantastic.
He's just getting back into it, just starting to find his feet again, boys.
Yeah,
that was a joke.
Got it.
Oh, I got it. Yeah,
because of the turf.
So with 2 votes, we had maybe harshly with 2 votes. Isaac Heaney, what a game! He started slow. He only had 1 touch in the first quarter, but from there kicked 1 and had 5 in the second, kicked 4 and had 9 in the third, and had 6 in the last. So he finished with 21 touches, 5 goals, 5 tackles. It's just amazing game. 9 score involvements. I think he was equal second best on for clearances. Just a amazing team lifting game. 86% disposal efficiency, 10 contested possessions from 21. So superstar game from Heaney, our top goal scorer.
And he did threaten a couple of games ago against Carlton, didn't he? Kicking 2-5 or whatever it was. But I mean, what a legend. As I said, we've said many times, it'd be nice to be able to just park him in the forward line, but then also have another one of him in the midfield, but also have another one of him down back. Because you look at his heat map, and he's almost 50-50 D half, forward half. So, he's just a machine. He gets you going. Shades of his excellent form from last year, right? The fact that he could just break quarters open and get us back into the game and pull us over the line. That's kind of almost what he did here. But yeah, just unbelievable, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was massive.
The heat on fire.
And then drum roll, please.
First place. The man just keeps getting it done. He's in a rich vein of form. Brody I mean, you could be right if you're a Heaney thinking I scored 5 goals and I didn't come top of your little medal. But we're just so impressed with Grundy recently. He's really put it together. Last 5-6 weeks, he's been everything a leader should be. Sammy, you want to talk through his game?
Yeah, so you can understand. It is harsh that he doesn't get the 3 points, but Grundy's game, he had 23 touches, which is third best on ground for the Swans, and sixth best on ground for the game, which for a ruckman is phenomenal. He had 43 hit-outs against an All-Australian ruckman from, 2 years ago? I think Tim English was All-Australian, maybe 3. So he pretty much, he almost tripled him in hit-outs, which is, again, a massive, massive effort. Really helped us with the clearance dominance from that aspect. He had 2 goal assists, which was second best on ground. Ironically, Tim English was best on ground with 3. He had 11 score involvements, best on ground. He had 8 clearances, best on ground. He was just absolutely massive. Again, 74% disposal efficiency. And he kicked a goal too. Missed one that he probably could have kicked. But he's just been massive. And I think what gives him the chocolates in this case is just how he continues to do it, and it doesn't matter who he's up against. He just goes, and it's a really, really rich vein of form he's in, and he's been consistent for really most of the season since the first few rounds, and he was consistent all throughout that game, and just could not have done any more at any moment to get us over the line.
Yeah. He was massive as a word you used. I was going to say immense. Yeah. I mean, you could feel his presence the whole game. I mean, you do often with the ruck, but he was everywhere, winning everything. Noddy, any thoughts?
No, just what you've said. We've said it. Yeah, how long now? It was 7-8 weeks. I don't know. It's just he's been probably the our best player for the club consistently through the middle part of the season.
Yeah,
and after a fairly slow start against, as Sammy said, English is a good ruckman, and he played pretty well in the first half, had moments throughout. I think he bounced back and he nullified, and it's just really around that 20 odd disposals, but just doing everything, contributing and leading. I'm pretty happy that we picked him. We got him when we did, in the way that we did, because our season would probably be a bit more dire if Grundy wasn't about. But yeah.
And look, maybe a segue into something. But before we do the honourable mentions, I mean, I've said a few times, if Grundy gets injured, I really don't know what the plan is. He's so key to us. But just before we hit the honourable mentions for people who played and added to the game, can we just talk about McCartan and Amati just for a minute? Both surprise exclusions or late exclusions for Gastro in McCartan's case. What do you think of the effect of that, boys? I mean, I'd have rather had both of them on the pitch. I suspect most Swans fans would have had.
I'm a yes for both of those.
Yeah, I'm a yes too, obviously.
And McCartan, I mean, do we feel McCartan? I mean, it's a good forward line, Bulldogs, tall as well. I mean, I think we thought Mills was a little bit absent, and maybe it was the change in structure right before the start. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, no, just that. I think it threw us out a bit. I think our best back line is that Mellick, McCartan, Rampy in talls, and then Mills can sort of step in, and Blakey can also step in. But I think it throws him out. Obviously, Buller got his chance because he's playing pretty well in the VFL, although he's been inaccurate down there. But I thought he had a pretty good game. I think he stood up, but not like for like, obviously. So personally, I probably would have brought Hamling back in and just parked him in the D50. I think that would have helped the structure that we'd been running with. But then you go, okay, so who are our forward targets? And then it's McLean and Francis, and they've kind of got the job done while Amati was still returning. So yeah, look, I don't know. I think we fare better if they're both in. But yeah, I think what was Amati? He'd done his hamstring again, or some sort of tightness.
Yeah, Well, let's just indulge the conspiracy theory for a moment, right? Which is that he's just off the back of, I think, the worst game in modern history, if I'm paraphrasing what I read correctly on the internet. And then a kind of undisclosed injury the day before the game. There's a bit of chin wagging about that. Anyone know anything?
I know nothing. No, I don't know, Sammy. I mean, I do love a good conspiracy theory. I've getting the foil hat out now as we speak. But look, I don't know. It's hard to say. I think most fans, in the wake of his, what was it, 0-6 and 2 out on the full, were like, well, he was presenting well. He was the best. He was the dominant forward in the game against Port. Just unfortunately missed a lot of fairly easy goals. And then that interview with Champion Data came out saying it was the worst rated game since they've been taking stats or the dawn of time or whatever they were saying. But yeah, look, who knows? You'd like to think the club don't play into, or I don't think that they would buy into media stories like that. But you never know. There might be some old swan sitting on the board saying, "Oh, you can't let that go." But yeah, I don't know, Sammy. What do you think?
No, it doesn't make sense, guys. Like,
Not for the must-win game.
yeah,
It was you field your best team.
yeah.
Let's talk about some honourable mentions, right? Who did you like, Sammy? Who else caught your eye in the night? You like Buller? Second game, got his goal.
I would have liked him a lot more if he kicked two, one from 5 meters out.
Yeah, talk about taking your chances and not taking your chances. But yeah, that one hurt me as well. I can forgive Buller for missing that because it's his second game.
I think Pelican did a fucking awesome job down back.
Agree.
He was massive with McCartan out. I think, Rampy getting subbed out. I don't know where Francis was playing forward, I think, wasn't he?
He went back.
Sort of playing probably a bit of everywhere. He was playing forward at certain points, Francis. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no. So I think he was massive. He, did a really good job. Obviously, Sam Darcy kicked 3, but I think that came in the first quarter and a minute, and after that, he didn't. He only had 2 touches in the second half. So
yeah,
massive game. As we saw the absolute potential from him too. So he did well. Was JJ on Bond?
No, Ed Richards, and totally cut him out of the game. And he's been one of their best all year.
Yeah, well, JJ I think's got to get in there as well.
Yeah.
Because I think he did well. Jake Lloyd, I really liked him as a lead up option, just because he kept marking the ball.
Finding space, yeah.
I still don't think he kicked it that well, and I still don't think that he certainly didn't convert well. One, he should have given the hands off to Chad. It was very, very frustrating very early on. He had 8 score involvements, though, and he had 14 marks, so he still had a pretty good game. I liked Will Hayward early on. I thought he was actually adding value. I don't think he did anything in the second half, but even though he didn't kick a goal, I would say that this game, I felt like he actually was better than he is most weeks, because he actually presented and took a couple of contested marks and got us out of trouble. So, yeah, I did like his first half.
He seemed to just the second half seemed to be about him trying to get under the skin of Fraser. But yeah, look, just going back to Lloyd, obviously he was dropped the week before. I think he came back in, and if he kicks 2-2, I mean 1-3, you're not. Yeah, I don't know. I think he probably holds, but Chad sort of came in and out as well, flashes of brilliance, and that's really wayward field kicking. I don't know. Just
you heard on Chad. You heard that commentary that's been going for a few weeks now that he should be using his hands more than his feet. He gets himself in tight spots and tries to kick out of it. Often goes wrong. People say he should be handball. I must say I've noticed that since I heard it on TV. I've been watching for it, but there are a couple of times again. You're right. Like, he should be slipping the ball out the side in the handball instead of trying to just barrel it forward. He's not been at his best this year.
But I mean, there was some moments of real brilliance. I mean, that goal from 50 was a really nice set. Like I think Sheldrick dished it out. I think maybe Roberts or JJ, someone just got in the hands of Chad and he skidded it through. It was a really nice team play, finished off brilliantly. But then, yeah, sort of just came in and out, unfortunately.
And what about Papley? I just 2 goals, right? I tried to get things going. Just a shout out to the SCG DJ for the prodigy fire starter after Papley's goals. Great choice. We can stick with that one. That was a really good one.
Proposing new segment, finger injury of the week, or best visible injury of the week. How about he's dirty at the umpire, like absolutely filthy, looks over and he realizes he's dislocated his finger and then walks off to have it looked after. And then it slipped out again when he was going for goal not long after that. But yeah, Barometer, he was great. I mean, he missed, what did he miss, 1 or 2? 1, I think. Kick 2-1, I think. But yeah, it was awesome to see him back. Yeah, him and Errol, we're just a better team, straight up.
Well, look, we've named almost half the team there, and we'll get to my favourite, Francis, momentarily because he's going to miss a week. I don't know if the listeners have heard, but he got a week ban for a shot to the face on. It wasn't lob, was it, Noddy? Who he hit
No,
the face?
Bramble to the back. Yeah, Tom Lynch basically tried to KO Jordan Butts. That's the big one happening at the moment. But yeah, I think Francis was. I mean, you see it a lot. It was a bit of a flop, I reckon. But anyway.
Well, we talk about this in a moment, but let's just play optimists, if you will, boys. We got 8 games left. What has to happen to make the 8? I mean, is it possible? It is still mathematically possible. Some of you will have seen a post on the Facebook Swans page where someone did a ladder predictor where the Swans win every game by 20 and everyone else loses where they're the favourite, and Swans were the minor premiers. So we're absolutely still mathematically in it. Unlikely, I must admit, but not mathematically out of it. So, I mean, boys, I was looking ahead at the fixtures. The next 5 are not, terribly hard, right? Next 5 are probably winnable. But yeah, look, what do we think? Like, can we make it? Does everything need to go right from here?
8 wins.
Yeah, so I've got a position on this, and I've done some research, and it's not far off Sammy's point, but just indulge me. So the gather round started in 2023, so it increased 1 game a year, 23 games. So we've had 2 years of it. In 2023, we came 8th with 12 wins and 10 losses at 110%. In 2024, Carlton came 8th with 13 wins and 10 losses at 110%. So either you can say it's got to be 12 or 13, or you could say it's trending, so it needs to be 14. So it's somewhere between 12 and 14 wins required just to make the 8, but on a much better percentage than we are now. So I'd like to think it's 12, but again, that's the optimist in me because I'm looking for the easiest way to scrape through. If that's the case, we have to win 6 from the next 8, considering we're playing Brisbane away and Geelong away, plus a bunch of other quite hard games. Is Geelong at home?
Yeah, doesn't.
Geelong's at home, sorry. Yeah. Brisbane away, Geelong at home. So I think it's not. So what I said before, I think was the best way, and I'm going to forget the precise words I used, but it's not mathematically impossible, so long as things go our way and we win every game with boosting some percent. But do I think we're capable of that right now? Perhaps if we kick straight and we play like we have, especially against the Dogs, maybe. Right? I don't want to give up yet, but I don't know, Sammy. So that's my 2 cents. I think you said every game before I jumped in.
Yeah, I think that in those other years there have been more teams contending to be in the top 8 at this time of the year. Right now, there's 9, and for probably most of the year, there's really been 9 teams that have been fighting. And we're not in that 9, and we needed to try break into that 9. and that was our opportunity on the weekend, and maybe we could have afforded to drop 2. But now I think we can only drop 1.
So you think 13 wins might get us, is what you're saying?
I think results still need to go our way.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think the thing is as well is that what we've got to remember is we are inferior when it comes to percentage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
terrible. 92.
I think we need to hope for the teams at the bottom to pinch a few to give us more of a chance. I feel that destiny is out of our hands. That's how I honestly feel.
Yes, agree.
It's not about whether we make it or not. It's that it's not in our hands anymore.
Oh, so I disagree with that. I think that if we win, sorry, yes, I'm agreeing to an extent. Like we have to win everything, and then hope that a few things go our way. So yeah, it depends on your definition. Destiny out of our hands, but
that's the thing. It's not just winning everything. It's
hoping that
it's also hoping that results go our way.
Go our
So
way.
for me,
Yeah.
that's out of our hands. Whereas last year we could have lost the last 10 games and still made finals.
Yeah.
So like that's then we've already kept it in our hands.
Yeah.
Last year, whereas now it's not in our hands.
Yeah.
This is where all great comeback stories start. You know
Exactly. Mighty
right?
Ducks. Who else? Everyone.
Mighty Ducks too, Noddy. I was thinking of Rocky. You know,
Rocky. Yeah.
Rocky, where he loses his faith. This is where we are.
Dun-dun-dun. Dun-dun-dun. Backs against the wall.
Yes.
Flying V. Flying red V. Let's harness some ducks. Enough of this swans. No, I'm kidding. I love the swan. It's a funny feeling, isn't it? I know, Sammy, you're really feeling it at the moment. How are you feeling, Harps?
I was thinking, imagine how we'd feel on like the 28th of September if we win the next 12 games.
Oh, mate. The best season ever.
The best 3 months of your life, right?
Yeah.
How am I feeling? Look, I can, this is always going to be a difficult podcast because we are all disappointed. And I think, to be honest, I don't think we'll make the finals. I just can't see us being consistent enough. But look, we're starting to put in performances that I think are showing promise. And I just say, take it 1 week at a time. I mean, if I was thinking about this earlier, because I knew the question would come up, and we haven't won the flag for 13 years, right? So, I mean, when you really boil it down, it's probably going to be no different this year. But doesn't mean we haven't had fun along the way, right? And we haven't been proud of them. So I'm pleased with the performances. And I know I was sitting there texting someone about 3/4 time on Friday and just thinking this is just a great game, right? It's a good game, playing well, disappointing, but there's plenty of opportunities in the remainder of the season for people to kick on and cement their places. There's still a bit of contract talk, right? There's some people to lock in for next year. I know you're after Gus, Noddy.
Yeah.
So I think there's still a lot to do in the rest of the season. And I think I'm seeing enough from Cox now in terms of structure and the full team back. I can get behind the team performances. If you rewind 6 weeks or so, I was at sea with that. But I feel now that I can see what he's trying to do. I think it's working. I think the accuracy will return. So yeah, I feel optimistic about the future.
I think, if you go, so I think there's probably a contingent of fans, and look, it's fair, it's fine. I'm not saying anything about it in particular, but if you resign to the fact that the season is done and you want to just sort of bleed junior players, and then figure out have a crack, like sort of build momentum into next year, I just don't think that fits really with what I understand the club's DNA to be, which is you go out there to win, regardless of where you're at. And so I want to take some scalps along the way. So I expect our best team to play and to win. And so I think if you can come out and do that, then all we can hope for is that we win every game. And then if we have a bit of luck, lady luck, we might scrape through. But do I think we deserve it? Well, if we get to the end of it and we miss out on percentage, then, that's our fault. But, I think we were dealt a pretty crappy hand in the first half of the year. Because Harps, I mean, you just said a very interesting point. You can see his game plan now. I mean, is it that, two excellent players that have been missing that have brought things together.
Yeah.
Obviously T-Mac out and Party out, but I don't know. I think there's things to be hopeful about. I don't believe the season is over, but I do think that we need to be playing our best team and we need to be trying to take teams out.
Yeah. I don't want to be rolling over for Geelong home in the second last game of the season. I want to be smashing them.
Yeah.
And I don't mind if we miss out on I think we will miss out on the finals. But, I've played in enough teams myself that have lost a lot of games to know that when you win in these losing seasons, it feels even specialer. So as long as they're putting in performances that I can see the structure and the growth and the effort, I'm optimistic about the future. I think they've still got a good side. I think they've got years in them. Yeah, I think it's still a pretty enviable position to be. Just having a good season.
I am always looking forward to the trade and draft period.
I know.
And I think we really need to go gangbusters this time round. But talk of Joey Danaher, there was a bit of in the room there. That was an interesting one.
Yeah. Well, you know what we need now?
I was going to say merch watch, but
no, I was going to say we need to play a team that's on a 6-game win streak. So,
yeah, that's right.
The hottest team in the comp. So, Noddy, luckily that's coming on Sunday afternoon. So give us a rundown on Freo.
Freo, way
Different
to go.
teams, start of the season, aren't they?
Yeah, for sure. They're on a 6-game win streak, playing pretty well. They did get one of those nice little North Melbourne away games in that run, though, where North Melbourne played a home game in Perth. So wrap your head around that one. But look, obviously form is, we're 2-3, they're 5-5, but 6 in a row. They've had some pretty good wins against decent teams. Their losses have come against Geelong, us earlier on. We won by 3, Melbourne, St Kilda and Collingwood. But they have knocked off a few other decent teams in their win ledger. Bulldogs, Crows, Giants, Suns, and maybe you put St Kilda thereabouts. Port Adelaide there as well.
No, St Kilda, the fact they lost to them and got a redemption back, they don't seem to play as well against they almost lost against North and they almost lost against the Saints.
Yeah. They've only had 2 blowouts, and I think that was Geelong and St Kilda the first time.
Oh, when they've lost.
When they've had losses, yeah. They haven't really had big wins. They've had a few 40-pointers.
I think they well and truly beat the Crows.
All right, Sammy. You're going to make me look it up, mate. Come on. Look it up then. If you're going to say it, back it up and look it up.
They flogged the Giants.
Give me the points.
I'm trying to find. They only beat the Crows by 18.
Oh, shit, mate.
The Giants.
Look that one up.
It was the Giants.
That's what happens when you try and contradict me on air, mate. I had a word to AFL and they rearranged the scoreline just for this particular moment. But yeah, look, the point is they're playing well, and God damn it, I love Caleb Sarong. It's hard to hate him, and God, I wish he played for the Swans.
And who's their man up front? Tracy?
Tracy, Voss, Amos, Jackson is running in there as well. Jackson's bloody good.
Colossal.
I saw Tracy got a knee right up in the rib cage, though. I think he played on, but looked pretty ugly.
He did play on. He took another match-saving mark. So
yeah,
right, should be fine then. So Sammy, I know you love to think about the list. Francis, we talked about that, got a suspension despite being underneath Lob for about 3 minutes, getting elbowed in the throat. Francis seems to be the one that's missing a game. Anyway, let's move on from that. McCartan, you'd expect probably to come back in. Gastro usually lasts 48 hours, the father of me says. Amar, I think, hopefully is over this mystery injury. What are you thinking, Sammy? What would you do with the lineup?
Well, Francis comes out, and I don't think he's been having his best game, so it's probably not a horrible thing.
Can I ask? Do you guys think it deserved a ban?
No.
I don't think it deserves a ban at all.
No.
Like you see a shove to the back for 10 times a game, maybe. Like, it was a bit of a swinging arm, but it hit him in the back and, like, he flopped. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm pretty one-eyed, but anyway.
Well, I think it's a fairly obvious change, though. I think, if Rampy's injured, then Rampy comes out, McCartan comes in.
Yeah.
If Francis is out, then Amadi comes in.
Yeah.
And I think Buller holds his spot.
I'd like to see that. I would like to see him have another crack. He's kicked 11 goals, 18 behinds in 11 games, but I thought he presented pretty well. He contested well. That handball to Papley was lovely. That snap on goal for his first was great. I guess he's just a bit nervous for that set shot. But yeah, look, he's out of contract at the end of the year, so he's one that is, you would think, playing for a contract. So, but it's not as if we didn't bring Caleb Mitchell in for one and then drop him again. Remember, Sammy? You were pretty miffed about that.
Well, I was miffed about that given the performances. So
in the VFL or at the AFL level?
No, in the AFL, that he had more touches than most of the team.
Do you think that Buller had a decent enough game to hold?
If Rampy wasn't injured and Francis wasn't Francis and suspended, then no. But in the context, yes.
I think he did. And just in terms of optional changes, you wouldn't hear me say this often, but I think Hayden needs a rest.
Oh, Doss. You are one of Doss's biggest fans.
I am, but he's off the boil and he's making mistakes. I think he's costing us.
So who comes in? The good lad, Pistol Pete.
Got to be Laddams. It's got to be Laddams.
Oh, jeez, no.
He's been playing all right in the VFL, mate. He hasn't done too much wrong, but it's just that you never really know how he's going to go at the top level.
Mate,
you're playing, and they play 2 rucks, so it might be the time to do it.
You're not going to see many overhead kicks at the SCG. Let me just say that.
Imagine if you try that on Dizzy and Ice.
Oh gosh,
Sammy, you want to keep Hayden in? You happy with Hayden?
Yeah, I think so. Don't get me wrong, I'm not thrilled with his performances, but I do back him, and I think he tries hard, and he hasn't had a great season. And there's games that he could have ripped open and he didn't, and then just hasn't really recovered from that in a sense.
Yeah, I get the feeling that when the 3 of them, and I'm including Logan McDonald, who hasn't been cited this year, obviously due to injury, when McDonald, Amadi, and McLean are in together, and McLean being the ruck backup, that they can share the love, and they're not going to have standout weeks every week, but it's going to go around, and they all sort of drag each other forward together because of that.
Yeah.
And I think the injuries, the injuries and the inconsistencies or lack of confidence has really hurt McLean. I'm not saying that he's able to perform contingent to Amadi being there, but he doesn't have that same level of consistency that he had last year, I think. But yeah, I don't know whether, because we go back to the point, I don't want to give up, so put our very best team available out to go out there with the intention to win. It's probably McLean ahead of Laddams just for track record. But if you're going to change it up, then do you have Buller and Laddams in the same team? Anyway, a lot of hypotheticals here, guys. But I think just T-Mac and Amadi back in, and then try our best to win.
Before we wrap, can I just throw one name at you? Robbie Fox?
Yeah, potentially if he's cleared his concussion symptoms. I think that he had extended, so it rolled over twice. He didn't play VFL. So I think Detoli is really not far away. But, who are you going to drop there? Campbell, Hayward? Yeah. Again, Hayward, yeah. Every other game kicks 3 goals for us. Or, whatever it is.
I'm really happy that Heaney's our top goal scorer, though.
Oh, he took over, did he?
Yep.
Oh, with the 5, yeah. Well, yeah. So, as I said, it'd be good to have a Heaney on every line. But, yeah, I don't know.
We shall see. We shall see.
Thereabouts.
we can hear how disappointed you are, Sammy, and you put a lot of effort into following this team around. You got any final thoughts, mate?
Rebellions are built on hope.
Oh, yes, I like that. Yeah, and look, you know, as I said, every Hollywood movie where they're on the podium at the end, this is where they are at the 1 hour mark, right here. You know, the coach is drunk outside a bar, and the best player's got an injury, and you know.
So, in following that analogy, and you know, we'll see how this goes tomorrow. But what's the hand of God here? What's the Deus ex machina? Who's the old wise counsel that we receive a magic instrument from? If we're doing the seven stories ever told.
Is it a horse?
Yeah, John Longmire.
Is it John Longmire with a grey beard? He comes in with a wand and says,
Yeah.
I am executive director of this football club. You will fucking win. That sort of thing.
Yeah, bang on.
I like
right.
it.
Swans fly together.
Yeah. Give me that red V. Flap, flap, flap.
Okay, we're going to wrap
it up.
That was a tough one. It was always going to be, listeners, and thank you for joining us. The stats show that you get a good bunch to listen all the way through, win, lose, or draw. So we thank you for that, because it's not easy when we have disappointments like that. We're all big fans, and we're realists too. We know where we sit now, but we can hope, Sammy. We can hope. Well, that brings us to the end of the episode. Thanks for listening through to the end. If you made it this far, must mean we did something good, so be a legend and give us a like and a follow.
Whether it be in person or on the potty, we look forward to whenever you can join us next time. But until then, up the bloods. And can you, Swannies? Come on, let's go. It's never say die. Red flying bee. Here we go.
Yes, boys.
This podcast is an independent fan-run production and is in no way affiliated with the Sydney Swans Football Club, its players, or the AFL. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect those of the Sydney Swans or any official organisation. All commentary is intended for entertainment and discussion purposes only.